Hey everyone, wanted to record a 4-week update post shoulder arthrosurface surgery to be helpful in terms of any form of a resource. Something really cool that came out of sharing the last journey is a gentleman from California uh, named Marshall. He came upon the things that were being put out, and we connected. He's having the same surgery that I had a couple months down the line, and we jumped on a Zoom, and I learned about his experience and some unique parallels in terms of dislocation, things of that nature, and got to share some of my experience with him, which, man, I wish that opportunity was available for someone to do, looking back. So if any of this information is to be helpful, I'm more than happy, and I'm more than happy to connect too. So if you are going through any form of arthrosurface or just even a rehab process, feel free to comment on this YouTube video, connect. You can find me on Facebook, and I'm more than happy to link up and you know be helpful, listen, whatever is needed in the experience. So, okay, we are just a day away from 4 weeks. Clearly, I'm not in a sling. If I remember correctly, in the last video, I might have shared this. At the 2.5 week mark, I saw the doc for a follow up, got my stitches out, got an X-ray, said I needed this surgery, kind of confirmed what was going on inside of the body with what he saw. I told him, Doc, I feel good. I feel like I don't need the sling. And he educated me to say, that's great. I need you to live in there till about the 4-week mark, and educated me as to why. I cut your subscapularis rotator cuff and tendon, and I need that to reattach properly, which he informed me kind of provides this, like, all the rotator cuffs provide this like protective barrier for like the ball and socket, where now you just obviously had the hemicap and all the work done. So I need that to heal properly, or otherwise you run into some issues. The shoulder could dislocate forward more easily or come out of place, things like of that. So that was a good thing to hear and to confirm with the doc. I will share this too. I found this to be extremely helpful in my own research, in learning in terms of patience, because this whole journey is a game of patience. The rotator cuff at 4 weeks, or rotator cuffs if you have those, more than one, surgery performed on more than one, at 4 weeks is the strength of a healthy rotator cuff. It's at 20% at 4 weeks. At 8 weeks, it's at about 40%. And at 12 weeks, which is 3 months, which for us in the arthrosurface, like that's the like, all right, like you're cleared to lift again. This is good perspective. Really only at 60%. So even at that point, got to be really mindful of what and how I challenge my body as I'm still healing. Those are obviously loose percentages, but good to know, super good to know. I began rehab physical therapy at week 3. So I have had 2 sessions, and I have been doing my at-home rehab, which was given to me every single day. We have a little parameters in terms of what we're working in and what we're working towards right now, in the particular phase that we're in. So I believe there's degrees of range of motion you're not really supposed to exceed. What I will share from physical therapy that was helpful for me to see is I was laying on the table, and my physical therapist, it was the first time that my arm had been taken through flexion. Okay. So it's my right shoulder. And she lifted my arm, and it went to about hand over shoulder, and there was obviously some discomfort, some stiffness. And this is the first time my arm's been lifted. And what was helpful for me to see is, say rep 1, I was here with some discomfort. By, I don't know, rep 20 with her, going through reps, I was about here with her, her manipulation. And just to see that change from the beginning to the end was helpful for me of like progress. I think this could be of use if you're like me. I shared with her, I would like to know, because she was taking degrees in angles early on, and maybe that's also to kind of like where she can live. But I'd like to know, hey, week one, your flexion, we got to 70 degrees. And maybe by week three, hey, we're at 85. Like, that progress, I think, can be really helpful in a journey where inches are miles. Baby progress is really huge progress. 15 degrees is a big deal, even if it's anything less than that. But just to know that there's traction in the right direction. Same thing with external rotation. The at-home rehab. The at-home rehab are these 3 to 4 isometric stretches that I do morning, afternoon, and evening. And there's one flexion for me where I put my hands on a surface, a table, the edge of a couch. If I am in a gym-like setting, I'll have an empty bar in a rack, and I'll go to lower my head. Both arms are on, and I'll lower my head down. Now, this experience is unique. The analogy I use is it feels like in my shoulder, like breaking up ice, which I can only imagine is scar tissue, inflammation. And what's unique about that is it happens almost every time I go to do that. And again, I improve the range of motion by rep 1 to rep 10. It brought emotions up for me of, man, thoughts would arise. Is this the most, example thoughts would be like, is this the most range of motion that I'm going to get? What if this is the most I can get? Thoughts like that aren't really serving me. And I just share that from a perspective of the first time I'm going to use my body again and ask it to work through that, as I'm being told and working to tell myself, this is the beginning. This is going to get better. It's going to get, better slowly, and it will progress and things like that. And we'll even get to some stuff on, muscle loss as well, and same thinking. Not without the other side of the thoughts that I have to I experience, and I also let go and say, okay, like that fear is there, and I can let it go. And it's a thought. I don't have to let it kind of live here. And I just share that from a perspective of a lot of vulnerabilities have come up in the recovery process for me, in my experience, from thoughts to my body to losing weight, all these sorts of things that I think I didn't fully maybe think through or anticipate, I should say. But rehab's going well. So I'm 1 week with the physical therapist down, 2 sessions down. I go back today for, week 2. And this also ties in that I've slowly at week 3 began to work out again. Now, pre-surgery, I was strength training 3 to 4 days a week, doing conditioning 2 days a week to 3 days, somewhere in there. And even up to surgery, my last strength session, I was going for a 20 rep back squat, and I got 18 at 285. So think of my body, if I were to get sore, it would be a 24, at most 48-hour period. Knowing that I was inactive, a lot more sedentary than I had ever been, I needed to factor in a couple things before I began to introduce my body to some resistance training. Volume. Going from a traditional week of whatever my volume would look like, I knew I needed to significantly drop that, because 3 weeks of not working out, I didn't want to completely shock my system and be just immobily sore, and be intelligent about it, So what's great about the place where I'm doing my rehab is it also has a gym attached. Now I own a gym, but I own a gym where there's free weights, there's dumbbells, there's barbells, there's kettlebells, and my body is not ready for those things right now, and maybe for some time. So this gym has access to equipment that I can use, leg press, a belt squat machine, unique things that like I don't have access to in my facility. And obviously I checked in with my physical therapist and she agreed it's going to help blood flow. It's going to help, it's going to help your sanity, which at week 3 was the first time. I was surprised. I thought it would come on sooner. At week 3, if I take a quick pause on the working out, that was the first time I felt as I jokingly label it, my marbles be challenged, my headspace be challenged. I was clear-headed, okay with not working out, and felt totally cool and fine for 3 weeks. And then right around the 3-week mark, just again, maybe my body craving to move, life things, and it was time. It was time, pain, all that. So pain being down. So she said, good, green light. Okay. Now I knew, okay, lower your volume. I also wrote out muscle groups I knew I could train in terms of right now, I can't particularly hit my chest, my shoulders, unfortunately, probably my back, my lats, I should say. And it calls you to be creative. So, okay, I can train my glutes, I can train my calves, I can train my forearms, I can train my calves, I can train my hamstrings, I can train my core. And again, with what ways without using your shoulder. So my first workout back was 3 sets of 12 belt squat, which is, there was this machine apparatus where I got into a belt. I did 12 tempo squats with some rest between 3 sets. And I finished my session off with 2 sets of 10 glute hamstring curls. That was my session. I was sore for 6 days straight. It was hilarious to me to go, and I even had this moment of like, this is what a new person who is going from not working out at all to any form of strength training has the opportunity to feel like. And it gave me, again, a gift to sit into that as a health and fitness coach, that reminder, and of what the body is feeling, because I had been away from that for a bit. So again, I listed out muscle groups I knew I could train. I'm going to start to kind of map out some structure here with what I now see and know is available at that gym. So it's not just random throwing things at the wall. And I'll share this last thing about working out. When I was pre-surgery, obviously I was moving the needle in my strength, progressive overload. I wanted to feel good, look good, focusing on my health, and could kind of have goals and things to work towards. And, that was that reality. Post-surgery, in this, 90-day recovery phase, that's not my objective. My objective right now at this stage, 4 weeks post-surgery, is to slowly introduce my body to some resistance training, health, wellness, mental sanity, preserve as much lean muscle tissue, and enjoy the process of moving my body and still finding and leaning into the gratitude of what it is capable of at right now. And I think that's important because there's mental hurdles when you lose function and capability in what the body can do. Which leads me into weight loss and nutrition. And I will totally share a day in the life of my eating here. And I think when I connected with Marshall, that part was helpful in terms of loading the body with nutrients and helping and aiding the recovery. At the time we did the Zoom, I think I was right around the 3-week mark. Again, no sling, because I'm comfortable to live here. I'm not in pain. I think it was really powerful for him to see like, oh, wow, I thought you'd be laid up and, in a sling and worse for wear. And in my experience, that's not the case. So pre-surgery, normal training, I'm taking in 3,200 calories to determine what are my maintenance calories with a very sedentary life. I put my metrics, height, age, weight, gender, body fat that I knew into a total daily energy expenditure calculator, which you could just do that online, Google that. And it spit out to me my maintenance calories. If you eat these calories in a week, you'll stay the same. And that was 2,200. So that 32 to 22 was a big deficit, 1,000 calories. And I was like, I am not cutting 1,000 calories. I'll meet in the middle and I'll go 2,600. And for about a week, I tracked that or so just to make sure I kind of knew what that transition would feel like. And I'm about 4 weeks post-surgery, and I still have lost 8 pounds. And initially, pair that with there is significant atrophy at my right shoulder, especially my my rear delt, my bicep and tricep on this arm, and my pec a little bit. And that was surprising for me how much it triggered like a resurfacing of an insecurity. And there was, I was immediately brought back to a young teenage version of myself who was skinny and a string bean and wanted so badly to build a built frame that I was confident and felt proud of. And I have. And to see my shoulder and arm and that in such short time, and knowing that I'm not going to be able to really do anything about it for another, at minimum, 8 weeks, it hit me. It stung. It stayed with me. It challenged me, and it still does. It's not something that just went away. I'm aware of it, and I'm working really hard to, in spite of it, let it go, accept it, continue when I feel those feelings come up, just really honor myself. And of course, everyone that I am comfortable with sharing that with or have been, you'll get it back. And I know I'll get it back. And that is a driver and a fuel for me that I'll know I'll get it back. ... It still is difficult to experience in the moment. It's still unsettling. And on the flip side, I spoke with a member at our gym who also had shoulder surgery, and maybe the opposite for this person or any person is an opportunity to gain weight. And so it can be a sliding scale, and I think within that process of losing muscle, losing part of, something you've worked hard for, or gaining weight, and what that does and the challenges of around that, it challenges us as people. It challenges our headspace. And again, I'll get to this at the end. I've been using a lot of the free time to really go further with the journey within and to continue to work on self. But let me get back to nutrition. So, 8 pounds weight lost, even though I have been eating my body weight in grams of protein. So I've been, or a little bit more. So 175 to 195 of grams of protein. The place where I am eating a lot less is definitely my carbohydrates. So pre-surgery, I was eating fruits at 2 of my meals and rice, a big amount of rice at my last meal. And that was every day. Post-surgery, 4 weeks, I eat rice maybe 3 times a week. I don't eat that serving size. I eat maybe half of it. And I'm obviously just not taking in the same amount of volume. Still about the same amount of fat and a little bit less protein. Now, I think that says a lot about consistent resistance training. So I also have the opportunity at my facility, which I did this yesterday, to do a full in-body scan. And what that provided me is the information of breaking my total weight down into water, dry lean mass, and body fat. So I could see, okay, where is this breakdown coming from, this 8 pounds? It also gives me my skeletal muscle mass. It gives me my body fat percent, my body fat mass. So I can see those things over time because I've scanned quite a bit, since we've had the machine. And I was happy, and it was a little bit relieving. I should say it was more relieving. So 8 pounds, my brain was just like, I see this atrophy. This is 8 pounds of weight of muscle loss. And it wasn't. The breakdown was about 2 pounds of muscle, which it's the lowest muscle I've been of my frame, about 84 pounds. And of course, I'm confident when I get back to heavy compound lifts, and that's something I can safely ramp back up again. I will put back on, and it will start to be a process for me. And then the other 6 pounds was a combination of water and fat. So that's not I'm not concerned with that. But again, unique of what it triggered in me. And, if that's something that someone else goes through, I think if I share what was helpful for me is, questioning what I was feeling, what I was thinking, what am I in control of, and kind of the acceptance versus the resistance aspect. A quick rundown of like what eating is kind of looking like. I shared this with Marshall, and I think he found it helpful, so I'll share this here. Again, 2,200 calories for me. So I will have 2 coffees. I'm usually waking up 5:30 with my significant other and her kids as they're getting ready for school. I will have a water. This is about 17 ounces of water, of whole full lemon and sea salt in there, and that's super great for, you wake up, you're dehydrated, electrolytes, wakes you up. It's phenomenal. So I'm in the process of drinking that. I'll have coffee with cacao powder and MCT oil. I'll have 2 of those. So that's a good amount of healthy fat. Breakfast consists of cooked in avocado oil, olive oil. That's what I have available to me. Sometimes a spray, but most of the time it's one of the fattier or the healthy fat oils. 2 whole eggs, half of the third, so no yolk in the third, so 2.5 eggs, 9 tablespoons of egg whites out of the carton. Game changer for just protein only. Veggies, like a handful amount of a veggie medley that just comes, that I buy from the store. A generous amount of those for nutrients. An ounce or less of goat cheese. And then I'll add somewhere between 4 to 5 ounces of an additional protein. This could be any of my, like chicken, could be a beef, could be a leaner pork, that I get those from the company Just Meats. So that's to front load my protein. And I highly recommend in any journey, but especially a recovery journey here, if you're going to go for body weight and protein, front loading is the easiest thing to do. So if I just had the eggs and egg whites, it's still not enough. And then I'm going to be left backtracking and usually undereat protein. So to satiate me, to preserve as much lean tissue as I can, skin, hair, all that, I want to get ample protein, which ideally for an active person and just general health, body weight in grams of protein. And it's easiest done front loading that. So having 50 to 60 grams to start your day and then just fill in the gaps as you go. So that 4 to 5 ounces plus the 2 eggs, 2.5 eggs and the egg whites and a little bit of residual in the goat cheese and such usually shakes me out to somewhere between 60 to 70 grams. So it's a great way to start the day. Lunch or meal 2 is about 8 to 9 ounces of some form of Just Meats product, which could be chicken, could be some form of a steak, could be some form of a. Their meats are fantastic. It is literally some form of high protein that has about 60 grams for me right there, paired with an apple, and usually that's been about it. So, because I'm cooking that in olive oil, so that's my fat. If I feel like I'm still a little hungry, I'll just have a handful of like cashews. So that's meal 2. Meal 3 could be cod. Me and my significant other love cod. It is a super high protein, low fat fish, and it's nice and clean. That could be with rice and some broccoli. If it's a non-rice night, it might be a protein like the cod, something from Just Meats, again, chicken, beef, healthy pork, one of those, some clementines, and I'll usually end my night with, why that would be so low is I'm leaving room for, I love this, a half cup of pistachios, and then a half cup to cup-ish of frozen blueberries from the freezer, that I'll put in a Tupperware, and and then I'll have a seltzer, and then that's usually what I'm eating. So if you zoom out, protein is the staple and it's a focus. There's nutrients at every meal in form of veggies, fruits, and I'm mindful of the carbs, especially with being a lot less active. Now I'm going to slowly start ramping up that activity. So, I'll pay attention to that and kind of meet that where it's at as well. I'm still taking the healing peptides. I've lowered the BPC now to about 30 units, and kind of kept it there. And the TB 500, I'm about to run out, and I have one more supply of BPC, so I will just use the TB at 15 units until it's done. Function and pain. So daily function. As you can see here, like, I'm not limited or in pain living out front, my arm hanging. I have to remind myself, you just had surgery. I will, and where that I'm struck by it the most, as if I have to do something abruptly and ask my arm to do something quickly, that doesn't feel the best. How I feel day to day is a little different. I feel best after promoting blood flow. So I've noticed, if I go back to training real quick, I'll do some form of resistance training, and the next day I will ride a C2 stationary bike for 20 minutes. And the days that I've done that, the blood flow, I think about it like my coffee, just kind of sitting here with the cacao powder and MCT oil. If I were to get my frother and kind of blend it up and it move things around, that's what I feel is happening with the blood flow, circulation, and circulatory system improvement, moving nutrients and antioxidants around and blood flow. That I feel almost like, man, I feel great. And I said that to my significant other last night at dinner, like, I feel great. And yesterday I rode for 20 minutes. So I think I might find some way to include that almost every day, not 20 minutes, but if 20 minutes is a workout day, maybe in my warm-ups use it for 10 just to promote more blood flow. That has me feeling great. Sometimes I'll wake up feeling stiff. And again, every time I go to the rehab, I'm reminded, this is a work in progress. This is a work in progress. Driving is okay. It's not, that oscillation of kind of up and down. And usually if you're like me, you're putting that arm out on the armrest like this. We'll have to be mindful of that too. So, but for most things, like, I can hold this coffee cup up, no problem. I can brush my teeth. I am, it's improvement to work up to wash the hair. It just feels stiff. It feels like, and that for me, again, emotionally, what is that? And I want to understand that to help me like make sense of it. And again, through talking with someone yesterday, there's a lot of inflammation. You were cut open. Oh, this person who had shoulder surgery also mentioned a unique pec sensation. So I think that might be a more common thing, especially when you get cut and things get moved. Stiffness, so there's inflammation, there's scar tissue. When your physical therapist is going to take you through range and you're just kind of like, discomfort, kind of determining those things and knowing it's all moving the needle towards something of improvement in the body. And pain, I'm not really in pain. I'm still sleeping at this point, 4 weeks on the couch in an upright position, which I've adapted to really well, and I'm sleeping well. And I had this revelation with Marshall on the Zoom. Pre-surgery, I was in pain and sleeping every night prone. Now, of course, I'm not sleeping prone, but I was in pain. And it pain that I would wake up in the night and I would feel the pain and I was aware of the pain. And that's just unsettling and it's frustrating. And I had this revelation with him. I'm not sleeping in pain. That pain in my posterior delt, I'm not having that. Granted, I'm not sleeping prone yet, but I'm not in pain. And it was a great moment for me to acknowledge, that was a big part of this. There is time on my hands right now, luckily. I'm just getting back physically into my workspace. I've been, right around week 3, began to get back involved with my work internally, stuff I can do from home and be more involved there. And what is unique when I got back into the physical space, 2 things. One, being around people, connecting and communicating. There is something to be said about the human experience because, my goodness, the emotions, the endorphins, the joy, the camaraderie really was powerful. And I was and am so appreciative of it. And 2, again, my body working out, I would find myself exhausted at the end of the day. There's something to be said about that too. But using the time, like I mentioned, to go inward, especially realizing there's unique thoughts and emotions and triggers coming up. And I'm no stranger to self-development or work in that arena. And I've been really loving and leaning into the work of Brene Brown, whether that's through her books or stuff on YouTube, or if you guys check out, she has a great documentary / talk on Netflix, The Call to Courage, and HBO Max, Atlas of the Heart. Those 2 were phenomenal. And, but just going inward and working on self and writing, and listening, and growing, and also spending a lot of time with my pup and the baby chicks. And that's really been a really joyful experience to be present. So that's a 4-week update. I might record another one in about the 6-week mark. I'm going to visit the doc. My next visit with the doc is around the 6.5 week mark. And that's where he's going to test my subscap through some tests and kind of determine the strength and the recovery process. And maybe, again, knowing that I might be around 40% on the way to 40%, kind of keeping that in perspective along this journey. So again, if you have any questions, please leave them below. Anything, any way that I could be helpful, I'd love to be helpful here. And I'll catch you guys next time.